Welcome to the Cosmic Busker. My name is Bobby Cody. In yesterday's video, War in Heaven, remote viewing the exploded planet hypothesis, I had ended it by hypothesizing or speculating that Mars had once been a moon of an exploded planet. My reasoning on that was fairly simple. We had gone over the Mars, one side of Mars is just completely cratered, the other is relatively devoid of craters. That's one of the pieces of evidence that is used for the exploded planet hypothesis. Now, it was pretty evident to me that in order for Mars to be so heavily cratered, it couldn't have been very far from the exploded planet. In fact, the only way it could have been so heavily cratered is if it was a moon of this exploded planet. So sure enough, a couple hours later, I was just cruising around and I found a video from Thomas van Flandern, who I have discussed before. He is the originator of the exploded planet hypothesis. One of the originators, one of the more modern originators. And in this video, in this lecture video, Thomas van Flandern had stated that Mars was once a moon and not a planet as it is now. So I want to take a look at some of the evidence Thomas van Flandern provides in this video lecture. So let's cut to Thomas van Flandern in this lecture real quick, where he lays out what he believes are some of the current planets that were once moons.
Unleashed, aren't they avoiding using the word explosion? Putting all these pieces together, from the oldest evidence for the late heavy bombardment to the most modern evidence for the KT boundary and an even smaller, more recent, smaller explosion at 3.2 million years ago, we've concluded that there is a new view of what the solar system originally looked like. And the first thing to note about that is that 3 of what we now call planets were originally moons, not part of the original panoply of planets. Mercury apparently was originally to Venus what our moon is to the Earth, the difference being that our moon was originally very close to Earth, maybe it fissioned from the Earth, but it definitely was formed from part of the Earth and has been evolving away from the Earth by tidal friction for the last 4.5 billion years. But our moon doesn't have enough gravity to ever escape from the Earth. It will eventually end its recession from the Earth. It will do that when it has removed all of Earth's spin, and Earth will wind up facing the same face toward the moon as the moon already has the same face toward the Earth. That ends then tides, and that ends the recession of the moon. The Mercury was able to escape Venus because it's about 4 times more massive than our moon, and it did have enough mass to escape before it had robbed Venus of all its angular momentum, although it did take most of it. The second case is Mars and a companion moon escaping from planet V, of which only Mars remains today. And the third case is Pluto and its moon Charon are apparently both former moons of Neptune that escaped from that planet. So that's 3 of the 9 we've taken away because they were former.
So Thomas van Flandern believed that there were actually 6 planetary explosions in our ancient past, going back as far as 4 billion years ago, which is about how old our solar system is. One of those explosions is what destroyed Mars' parent planet and made Mars, which had been a moon, now essentially a planet. Here we're going to take a look at Thomas van Flandern presenting all the evidence regarding the fact that Mars was once a moon. Let's cut to that right now. Says
there to his class. Specifically, I wanted to elaborate on the point about Mars being a former moon of planet V, because that is so relevant to understanding Mars. For example, spacecraft evidence has shown that Mars is almost like two separate hemispheres glued together. One hemisphere is strongly cratered. It is saturated with craters, mostly very large craters too. And the other hemisphere is smooth and flat and almost devoid of craters. One hemisphere, the cratered one, is built up to a thickness of about 20 kilometers. The other hemisphere has a crust that is no more than 1 kilometer thick anywhere and very smooth and flat. The pole of Mars changed suddenly by about 90 degrees. The planet tipped over. If you're thinking in the back of your mind, exploded planet hypothesis, these anomalies are easy to understand. Mars was in the face of a parent planet that blew up. It's only going to get blasted with craters on one side. The other side is shielded from it because, of course, it keeps the same face toward its parent. The cratered side is going to get built up with lots and lots of debris from the explosion, up to a thickness of 20 kilometers. If you put a weight on the equator of a spinning object, the object will tip over. It will change its spin axis. And that's known to have happened to Mars. The original dense atmosphere was blown away by the explosion. And in the present-day atmosphere, there are fission byproducts from explosion processes that do not occur in nature, such as xenon-129. From evidence from comets, we can tell with pretty good certainty that after the original explosion of the parent body 65 million years ago, leaving the two moons, Mars and body C, orbiting one another, that body C exploded itself 3.2 million years ago, probably because of the damage it sustained in the first explosion. And it's a relatively water world and produced a massive one-time flood on Mars, which again agrees with a lot of evidence on Mars that there was at one time a flood, but all of the evidence from the rovers now is that despite the evidence for a massive flood, there was apparently no standing water for any length of time, such as an ocean would be, because there are minerals that have been formed in the presence of water, but not the long-term presence of water, just very short-term. These two spacecraft views, composite views of the two hemispheres of Mars, make the point. The blue is low lens and the red is high lens, but you can see that every crater is shown here. Every crater over a certain diameter, I think, is 20 kilometers, and this is all saturated with craters, not counting this huge crater here. And the rest of this is it's not representing ocean or anything like that. This is lowland terrain of Mars that is smooth and flat and as craterless as you see it there, devoid of large craters. Moreover,
I had to change my recording angle. The sun was coming in, was causing a lot of glare. So Thomas van Flandern also believes that Mars wasn't the only moon, that it had a twin moon, essentially. He calls it body C. And the reason he believes that is because of what some of our Mars rovers, or spacecraft that we've sent to Mars, have found. They have found evidence that Mars had water. No question about that. There's abundant evidence of that. But what he states that these rovers, the spacecraft, etc., have found is that the water on Mars wasn't there for a long time, and that there was, no question, a massive flood on Mars. It appears to have at one point wiped pretty much everything out. The question is, if there wasn't all this massive water on Mars, where did it come from? He believes that the second moon of this exploded planet, which he calls body C, once the planet exploded, Mars and body C were essentially rotating each other for several million years. and then body C somehow got destroyed, and all the water from body C then went to Mars and flooded Mars. Let's go to Thomas Flandern discussing this a little better than I am able to.
And that's all around the edge. So lots of supporting evidence for this. So our overview is pushing gravity brings to an end the universal speed limit. It's a potential source of unlimited energy and a potential cause of stellar and planetary explosions. All existing evidence presently available supports the exploded planet hypothesis. 6 of the 12 original planets remain. Mars was a moon of exploded planet V until 65 million years ago. Mars was a companion of body C until it exploded 3.2 million years ago. These are some quick artists' concepts, pictures, stills from a video that's being put together showing planet V, not Saturn, body C and Mars orbiting one another. Just some nice pictures of it. There's a close-up of body C. There's showing it in perspective against the planet. A close-up of the original Mars, artist concept. And then we see that if we look at planet V and something interferes with the thermal equilibrium from those gravitons, and there's a core collapse, for example, things are really going to heat up in the interior, like putting it in a toaster, and you would get a sudden explosion.
Thomas Van Flandern also produced for an audience a video graphic of what he believed the destruction of planet V, that was the planet that Mars was a moon of, and body C, what their destruction may have looked like. So I want to cut to that video graphic that Thomas Van Flandern showed his audience real quick.
A control 3, and that will enlarge it. That's what I was trying to do. Thank you. All right, and now pressing the play button, and that's just a segment of the explosion. And we have another segment that shows the impact on body C. Let me just close some of these guys so they're not taking up our resources. Thank you. Okay, and in this segment we see the blast wave hitting body C. So that will be a fine video of what I've described when it's all complete. Let's see there, I got the mark.
Finally, I'd like to just point something out. At no time does Thomas Van Flandern speculate that Earth may have once been a moon, or that it's is the destroyed remnant of another planet, which I had hypothesized. I'll give you a link to that over here. But there's a reason for that. Tom Van Flandern passed away before we had a good idea of what other solar systems look like. It wasn't until after he had passed on that we found a whole bunch of other planets around a whole bunch of other solar systems. And no solar systems look like our own. I've done a video on that. I'm going to put that up here. All the solar systems, other solar systems that we have found other than our own, have really large planets. Only our solar system has found to have very tiny, small, inner rocky planets. As I state in that video that I'm going to provide the link to, I believe that's because of all the explosions that we've had in our solar system that other solar systems have not had. Thomas Van Flandern didn't have that information yet because we didn't have a full understanding of what other solar systems looked like. I believe that if he did, he would more than likely change his hypothesis to speculate that Earth was once a moon of one of these exploded planets, or that even Earth may be one of the surviving remnants of one of these planets. which is what I believe is the case. That's all for now. Thanks for watching. I've been working for about a week on a video that's going to look at all the evidence regarding ancient Martian civilizations. I'm hoping to finish that up soon, and I'm hoping that will be one of my next videos, probably maybe in the next day or two. Thanks for watching. Everybody have a great day.